Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Hayden. I'm from Fierce, and I will be your host today. Today, we're joined by Dr. Faisal Mahmood. He's the Chief Medical Officer at Medicus Pharma, and he's also the co-chair of Antef Limited. So, Dr. Mahmood, I would love it if you could just take a moment and introduce yourself to the audience.
No, thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you mentioned, I'm the Chief Medical Officer at Medicus. I've been here for a year. It's a
Great.
Philadelphia-based biotech company advancing a couple of novel assets, one of which is Teverelix, which we'll be talking about today. I'm actually based out of London, and I'm a medical doctor by background, trained in internal medicine and oncology, with about 2 decades experience in big pharma, late phase clinical development and medical affairs.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive into the questions here. And Doctor, I'd be curious to hear, why is there a pressing need for next generation GnRH antagonists like Teverelix in prostate cancer and urology?
Thanks for that, Chris. I suppose from our perspective that despite decades of progress in this space, there are still major limitations with current hormone therapies for GnRH antagonists. So GnRH agonists really cause a testosterone surge, which can worsen symptoms or actually increase cardiovascular risk, especially in men with existing comorbidities. And that's critical because cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death in men with prostate cancers, which is where GnRH agonist antagonists are used. And often, the cause of death being cardiovascular disease is greater than the cause of death being cancer, especially in early phase prostate cancer. In urology, acute urinary retention really remains a high burden condition. And yet we still don't have an approved drug to prevent people from a recurrence of an acute urinary retention. So really, Teverelix has been designed to overcome these issues, really offering potentially an immediate flare-free hormone suppression with deep and sustained reduction in both LH and FSH, which are important hormones. And that matters really because emerging evidence suggests that elevated FSH may contribute to endothelial dysfunction and cardiovascular events. So the rationale for Teverelix is both mechanistically as well as clinically strong in our perspective.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So how is Teverelix differentiated scientifically and clinically from earlier agents?
Well, first generation GnRH antagonists really demonstrated the proof of principle, but they came with trade-offs. So Teverelix really requires a monthly injection because of its formulation, causes quite significant injection site reactions, which has contributed to its relatively poor uptake. Relugolix is oral. However, adherence is and can be an issue, and it doesn't consistently suppress FSH, which, as I mentioned earlier on, is important from a cardiovascular risk perspective. So Teverelix, it's a long-acting depot given either subcutaneously or intramuscularly every 6 weeks. It provides an immediate testosterone suppression without that testosterone flare and has shown excellent tolerability so far. And importantly, it also suppresses FSH more consistently and deeply than many other earlier agents.
Okay. And what are the most important learnings from the more than 400 patients treated to date, and how do they shape kind of the next phase of development?
So what's been consistent in the data generated so far with Teverelix is the predictability and tolerability of the hormone suppression, which has been really reassuring. Now, across over the 400 patients treated, we've seen rapid, durable reductions, both in testosterone as well as LH and FSH, without that flare, and a favorable safety profile. And this is especially relevant, as I mentioned before, when we consider that cardiovascular disease is a leading cause of mortality in patients with prostate cancer. Now, several studies, including ours, show that deep FSH suppression may be linked to improved cardiovascular outcomes, although this still needs prospective validation, of course. In urology, we've seen meaningful prostate volume reduction and symptom relief, often within just a few weeks, which is absolutely critical if you want to prevent patients who've got an acute urinary retention as a consequence of BPH not to have a recurrence.
Yeah.
So these learnings really have shaped our next steps. So we're advancing 2 phase 2b/2 studies, which we may talk about a bit later, one in high cardiovascular risk prostate cancer and one in recurrent acute urinary retention, using adaptive lean trial designs that reflect already what we've learned with those 400 patients.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I like this question. I think this is an interesting question. So beyond men's health, where could Teverelix fit into women's health, and how might AI genomics kind of support that journey?
We think Teverelix has promising potential in women's health. We already have some data in female healthy volunteers, and we think it's particularly relevant for conditions like endometriosis or uterine fibroids, where hormone suppression is currently the cornerstone of treatment.
Right.
But today's options really have some important, difficult trade-offs, particularly around bone loss and other vasomotor symptoms, and the need for hormone add-back therapy. We think Teverelix may offer a differentiating mechanisms that allows for more tailored and milder suppression, opening up new possibilities. So we're really exploring how AI and genomics can support the development of Teverelix in this area, from predicting response to optimizing dosing strategies. While it's exciting, it's still an early evolving space, much earlier than what we're doing in prostate cancer and acute retention. But we see one where there's strong scientific rationale to engage and develop data.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, what key clinical and kind of corporate milestones should stakeholders expect over the next 12 to 18 months?
So we're entering a pivotal phase, of course. So in the next year to year and a half, we expect to launch 2 phase 2b studies, one in prostate cancer to confirm the dose and to confirm the suppression of testosterone over a defined period of time, and one in acute urinary retention. We expect to deliver interim data readouts to support our registration and partnering strategies, and really advance this exploratory work that I was mentioning around women's health using a precision medicine approach. And we also continue to expand our pipeline using various platforms that we have, and really applying, smart science, our clinical expertise and history and rigor, as well as real-world patient relevance, with Teverelix really at the core and forefront over the next 12 to 18 months.
Great, great. Dr. Mahmood, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. And thank you. I also want to thank the audience for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. Hope this conversation was fascinating for you as it was for me. And hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.